president is also the executive for the entirety of the intelligence community. So he's the ultimate customer. If you look at it like a business, the customer, the person spending the money, is the president, and the director is the CEO. So if the director doesn't create what the president wants, there's going to be a new director. That's why the director of CIA is a presidential appointed position. Sometimes they're extremely qualified intelligence professionals. Sometimes they're just professional politicians or soldiers that get put into that seat because the president trusts them to do what he wants them to do. Another gaping area that causes problems, but that's still the way it is.
So you think this is a problematic configuration of the whole system?
Massive flaw in the system. It is a massive flaw in the system because if you're essentially appointing a director to do what you want them to do, then you're assigning a crony. And that's what we define corruption as within the United States. And inside the United States, we say if you pick somebody outside of merit for any other reason other than merit, then it's cronyism or it's nepotism. Here, that's exactly what our structure is built on. All presidential appointees are appointed on something other than merit.
So for an intelligence agency to be effective, it has to discover the truth and communicate that truth. And maybe if you're appointing the director of that agency, they're less likely to communicate the truth to you unless the truth aligns perfectly with your desired worldview.
Well, not necessarily perfectly, because there are other steps, right? They have to go in front of Congress, and they have to have the support of multiple legislators or legislators. But the challenge is that the short list of people who even get the opportunity aren't a meritorious list. It's a short list based off of who the president is picking or who the would-be president is picking. Now, I think we've proven that an intelligence organization can be extremely effective even within the flawed system.
Yeah.
The challenge is how much more effective could we be if we improved? And I think that's the challenge that faces a lot of the U.S. government. I think that's a challenge that has resulted in what we see today when it comes to the decline of American power and American influence, the rise of foreign influence, authoritarian powers, and a shrinking U.S. economy, a growing Chinese economy. And it's just, we have questions, hard questions we need to ask ourselves about how we're going to handle the future.
What aspect of that communication between the president and the CIA could be fixed to help fix the problems that you're referring to in terms of the decline of American power?
So when you talk about the president wanting to prioritize what the president cares about, that immediately shows a break between what actually matters to the long-term success of the United States versus what benefits the short-term success of the current president.
Because any president is just a human being and has a very narrow focus. And narrow focus is not a long-term calculation.
Exactly. What's the maximum amount of years a president can be president? 8.
Yeah.
He has to be, he or she.
In the United States.
In the United States, according to our current constitution.
Yeah.
But they're very limited in terms of what they have to prioritize. And then if you look at a 4-year cycle, 2 years of that is essentially preparing for the next election cycle. So that's only 2 years of really quality attention you get from the president, who's the chief executive of all the intelligence community. So the most important thing to them is not always the most important thing to the long-term survival of the United States.
What do you make of the hostile relationship that, to me at least, stands out of the presidents between Donald Trump and the CIA? Was that a very kind of personal bickering? I mean, is there something interesting to you about the dynamics between that particular president and that particular instantiation of the intelligence agency?
Man, there were lots of things fascinating to me about that relationship. So first...
What's the good and the bad? Sorry to interrupt.
So let me start with the good first, because there's a lot of people who don't think there was any good. So the good thing is we saw that the president, who's the chief customer, the executive to the CIA, when the president doesn't want to hear what CIA has to say, he's not going to listen. I think that's an important lesson for everyone to take home. If the president doesn't care what you have to say, he's going to take funding away, or she will take funding away. They're going to take attention away. They're going to shut down your operations, your missions. They're going to kill the careers of the people working there. Think about that. For the 4 years that President Trump was the president, basically everybody at CIA, their career was put on pause. Some people's careers were ended. Some people voluntarily left their career there because they found themselves working for a single customer that didn't want what they had to produce.
So for people who don't know, Donald Trump did not display significant deep interest in the output.
He did not trust it. Yeah,
he was a disinterested customer.
Exactly right.
Of the information.
And then what do disinterested customers do? They go find someone else to create their product. And that's exactly what Donald Trump did. And he did it through the private intelligence world, funding private intelligence companies to run their own operations that brought him the information he cared about when CIA wouldn't. It also didn't help that CIA stepped outside of their confines, right? CIA is supposed to collect foreign intelligence and not comment on domestic matters. They went way outside of that when they started challenging the president, when they started questioning the results, when they started publicly claiming Russian influence. That's all something the FBI could have handled by itself. The Justice Department could have handled by itself. CIA had no place to contribute to that conversation. And when they did, all they did was undermine the relationship they had with their primary customer.
So fresh song.